right. It is the 21st episode of the Running My Mouth podcast. I didn't even have to remember that one. It was easy because the last episode was the 20th. Therefore, this one is the 21st. It's the 21st episode of the Running My Mouth podcast. I am your finally recording this on a good day, Aaron, which, to be fair, aside from the last episode where I don't need to be recording episodes after work. I have learned that I don't need to do that. My mental power is gone. And honestly, that's why the last episode was like not even 50 minutes long, because I was just spent for the day. So I've learned my lesson. I will not do that anymore, even though there have been a not insignificant amount of episodes that I've filmed on Monday afternoons after work. I shan't be doing that again. It's Sunday today, which realistically... When I first started up my second podcast is gonna try to follow the schedule for my first one where I would record on Thursdays, which for some reason ended up working for that iteration of my creative endeavor known as podcasting, but for this one, it doesn't. And then morphed to Saturdays, and now it's Sundays and sometimes Mondays, which Mondays are ill-advised, so I'm not gonna do that anymore. That's entirely besides the point. Unlike last time, actually have a list. Again, I had a list the time before that. This time, I got a list. You can see it in my hand here. But if you're, of course, if you're only listening to the audio-only version of the podcast, which I know there are some people that do. However, if you do, I'm going to say it. You're only getting half the story. And I'm not going to forget to talk about Drag Race this time because I have it on the list. So rest assured, we will be getting to me talking about Drag Race. But first, I have a lot of musical-related topics to talk about first, of course. The first one being that, in between me recording my last podcast episode and this one, I have learned that Periphery is going on tour. And my tone is very sad because I cannot go. I can't go. I was very upset upon seeing the list of stops, of which there are like 5. Which, I mean, when was the last time, aside from when they were touring with Under Oath, when was the last time they had a headliner tour that went to like a bunch of stops? It's been a while. Because they had that one before that stopped at like 3 places. And now they have this one that's stopping at like 5 places. So it's like, all I can hope for is that they're like surprise and add new stops. But I genuinely doubt that's going to happen. Now, I did say Periphery was going to be a band that I would buy the plane ticket for. And it still holds up. And I was genuinely considering buying the plane ticket, but as I have talked about before on this here podcast, I am not only going to be seeing the Amity Affliction in like a few months or whatever. I'm also going to be seeing Erra, and those two are like not even 2 full weeks apart. And the stop that I would have been seeing, well, the entirety of Periphery's tour is like within like 3 weeks. So, or not even 3 weeks, maybe like the entire month of May, but it was just kind of too close. And the one stop that I thought I would be able to go to would be Atlanta, because I mixed it up in my mind. I thought the Erra concert was going to be second. It's going to be first. And the Erra concert would have been in Birmingham. And I would have been able to go to Atlanta from Birmingham. I would have had to take like an entire week off of work, which is not something that I maybe want to do, and drive a prolonged distance. I don't know if you know the totality of the distance from where I am now in Jackson to Atlanta. I mean, listen, people make the drive from Jackson to Atlanta all the time. I have coworkers who do it. People do it. I don't do it though. I don't want to do it. That's 2 states that I'm crossing. That's far too much. And a time zone. A lot of people, okay, well, not a lot of people. Really, it's probably only me. I forget that Georgia and maybe Atlanta as well, they're on Eastern time. So that's kind of a lot. All that to say, that's kind of a lot. Actually, is Atlanta on Eastern time? It has to, you know what? It doesn't matter if it is or not. I'm not going. So it's like, whatever. I thought I could make that work. However, again, I got it mixed up in my head. It's not going to be able to work out. And then at first I thought, okay, if I fly to Nashville, because again, I'm not driving to Nashville. I mean, listen, if you look on a map, the state of Tennessee is just like really long. It spans literally three states. And the city in Tennessee that is closest to me is Memphis, which is why I've been twice, because it's the closest to me. However, that's not where bands stop if they make a stop in Tennessee. You know, it's usually Nashville. Sometimes it is Memphis, because again, I mean, I've been able to go like twice, so it is sometimes. Other times it's like Knoxville, which who's going to Knoxville? But most of the time it's gonna be, what did I just say? Nashville. And that's like all the way on the other side of the state of Tennessee, like that's on top of Georgia. So like no. However, I would have been willing to fly there. I mean, it's not that long of a flight. And it wouldn't have cost that much. I did price out the tickets. However, again, that would have involved taking some days off of work, getting on a plane. That's a bit much. And then, of course, transportation is going to be an issue because being that I am the very young baby age of 24, I cannot yet rent a car, which is insane, but whatever. I mean, you know, it's whatever. I will be able to rent a car in like 7 months, but I mean, I don't know how much it costs to rent a car. And honestly, I probably wouldn't want to pay that much anyway. So I just couldn't get it to work out. It was just too much. And the dates where it would have been, you know, a sufficient distance away from the other show in May that I would have been going to, which I guess is the Amity Affliction. That one's in the middle of the week, isn't it? Yeah. Away from that one, it's in freaking Canada. And like, I have a passport. I got it when I was like 12, though. It needs to be updated like expeditiously. And honestly, I don't know why I'm not. I really should like renew my passport. I feel like that would be like an important thing to do. But also, when was the last time I've traveled like internationally? It was probably when I got that passport, when I was like not even in middle school, maybe still in elementary school. So yeah. I don't want to like try to figure that out on my own. Like that's kind of too much. I mean, listen, I get it. People travel internationally like all the time. And Canada would be nice to travel to. But, you know, you got I was going to make a joke about how there's like, you know, it's a whole different language. But it's only in like one part. However, I think one of them is going to be in Montreal, and I think the other one's going to be in, I don't know. I think whichever stops are in Canada are in French Canada. Montreal's in Quebec, I think. So, you know, it kind of works out. But anyways, it just couldn't work out, and I am very upset by that. However, knowing that, you know, Periphery are in their independent era, they're not really on the tour ting like they used to be, question mark. I don't even know if they ever used to be. But I mean, the only time where they toured and did like a bunch of stops is when they were with touring in support of Under Oath, which I am continually kicking myself in the butt for not going. Which, listen, I know there's like a whole tornado that happened, and like that it wouldn't have been a nice travel to go all the way snaking up through the Delta to get to Little Rock. It's terrible. It's just like 2-lane roads for far too long, and it's not a nice road trip to go on, okay? So, but still, like, I don't know. I don't want to like speak it into existence, so I'm gonna keep it to myself. I'm gonna keep my pretty little thought in my pretty little head, because we're not speaking that into existence. But I do want to see Periphery before either I die or the band dies. So, like, one of those has to happen, which is why I was willing to buy the plane ticket, because, I mean, the likelihood of them coming to, you know, New Orleans or Birmingham or Memphis or... I'm not gonna lie, I'm not willing to travel to Little Rock again. Going up through rural Arkansas is like scary. I'm not about to do that. I'm not about to do that solo on my own. Like, no. Like, it's not the vibe that I'm looking for. So, Arkansas, listen, I did it once. I'm not doing it again. And I wasn't even driving that time. So it's like, we're not gonna do that again. Maybe Mobile. I guess once they get that Amtrak line back, I can go from Jackson to New Orleans and from New Orleans to Mobile. That would be nice. But I mean, yeah, I wish, first of all, I wish that the United States wasn't so freaking big. Like, why does everything have to be so far apart? Why does everything have to be so spread out? That's so lame. Like, why did they have to manifest destiny? What if the entirety of the United States was just on one side of the Mississippi River? What about that? You could probably fit the entire population of the United States on one side of the Mississippi River. I mean, considering how much empty space there is in the state of Mississippi alone, not even counting like just like farmland, like you can put 300 million people in the little split down the Mississippi River on the eastern side. Like, this country didn't need to be as big as it is. But, you know, some people just had to go get some land because land is just so good. Like, people have made do with less. There are so many, like, major nations in such tiny little areas. You didn't have to have, like, 1/4, not even a fourth, like, a half of an entire continent. Like, what was the purpose of that? I know the answer, but, like, what was the purpose of that? I just hate that everything is so far apart here. Like, I know people complain about, you know, high population density areas like New York, like, oh, everybody's just living on top of each other. But it's like, I wish everything just wasn't so far apart. You know, I wish I could walk places. I wish we had trains that go places. I wish I didn't have to drive a car. I don't like driving, by the way. Like, I have probably said this before. I mean, duh. And all the times that I've talked about having to travel places to see shows, it's like, I don't like driving in cars. Everything about the infrastructure of the United States, I'm kind of over it all. I'm kind of over it. I would love to live somewhere with a higher population density than I do right now. Because, like, realistically, do we all need several acres of land around our houses? What are you doing with that land? You're not growing things on it. You're just keeping grass. Like, grass doesn't even look that good, you know? Just like, what's the point of having giant yards? Like, oh, my kids, they need somewhere to play. They can play inside. They can play inside. But you don't want your kids around you? Why did you have them? They can play inside, okay? Like, they don't need all that. You want some greenery? Go to a park. The United States has wonderful national parks. And I mean, that's, you know, also contributes to the whole being big thing. A lot of the land in the US is like national park land, which is great. But do we all individually need a national park for a yard? I don't think so. I think it's a bit overkill. It's a little bit unnecessary. You know, it's kind of useless if you ask me. Like, what? Anyways, I'm really not going to belabor the point. I mean, it's whatever, I guess. I won't be able to see Periphery because this dang country is too big. That's why I won't be able to see my favorite band in concert. I'm sad about it, but I don't know. It just be like that sometimes. That's the only thing I can say. It just be like that sometimes. But that leads me to my next topic, because I'm a little bit extra upset about this, because guess who will be supporting Periphery? I'll give you a minute. I'll give you a minute to guess. Not an actual minute, like a figurative minute. I'll let you guess who is supporting Periphery. It's not Invent Animate. However, if it was, I probably would have bought the plane ticket. Like, are you joking? Oh my god, that, I don't know how, I'm not saying it's like outside the realm of possibility for that to happen, but I don't know. For some reason, I don't see it in my head. However, the band that I'm about to mention, I also didn't really see it in my head, but it kind of makes sense. Eidola, my good sis Eidola, is supporting Periphery, and they put out new music. I was complaining all last year because the streets was saying that we were going to get new Eidola music in 2023, and we didn't. And I was like, man, why are the streets always lying to me? I guess The single needed a little bit more time to cook because it came out a few weeks ago, and I didn't even know it came out. Like it was kind of random out of nowhere. Um, and yeah, I mean, I listened to it. It's pretty good. It hasn't really grown on me yet, but I have been looking forward to new Eidola music for a while now, especially after oh my god, The Architect? Is that the name of the album? Why am I always forgetting things? You can count on Aaron for one thing. It's forgetting what episode we are on and also the names of things. It is called The Architect. I was right. I've been looking forward to new music since The Architect, which is crazy. Okay, it's not crazy, but I was thinking about it, and The Architect, the album, came out around the time that I moved to Jackson. I'm actually going to check the date because I mean, I'm already on Spotify. So it came out September 17th, 2021. And I was already listening to the singles from it a lot before it came out. And so let's see, September 17th, that would have been like a month after I moved here. And honestly, yeah, I do listen to that album. I get nostalgic for like when I first moved here. Cause I mean I listened to it a lot when it came out, which, you know, would have been around the time I first moved here. And it's like, yeah, things are different from when The Architect came out and when Eidola's next project is going to come out, which I forgot the name of it. It has been announced. I either never bothered to remember it or I forgot. But the name their new album, which is coming out in April, right along with Erra's new album, which ooh slay. Two new albums that I'm looking forward to in the same month. That's crazy. That's pretty good actually. I like that. I like that a lot. But yeah, just kind of I'm very retrospective. Is retrospective the right word? I don't know. There is a word, and it does start with an R, but it's not retrospective. The one that I'm looking for. Doesn't matter. I'm very retro. I'm ruminating a lot. That's what it is. I'm ruminating a lot right now, like not even these past couple of weeks, really just this past week, because this last Wednesday, February the 20th, was my 1 year anniversary at my job that I'm at now. And it's been a wild and wacky year. I don't know how else to say it. It's just been a wild and wacky year. Like, a lot has happened. A lot of good things have happened, and a lot of not great things have happened, but a lot has happened. And, you know, anytime I would reach like a milestone at my job, right? Or not even a milestone, just like randomly thinking, you know, let's say it was, I don't know, 4 months ago, I would think about, was this 4 months ago? No, December. We'll say December. I don't know why I said 4 months. That was random. December, I would think about, you know, where I was at that point in December versus where I was like that previous December, you know, squatting in a cold field picking collard greens. And just, I'm very thankful. I'll say that. I'm very thankful. If I were a religious person, I would use the word blessed. However, all of my blessings have been given to me by myself and not anyone else. So I'm very thankful for where I am versus where I was. And, you know, it's just weird to think about, you know? I don't know. And yeah, it's really not good for me to like think about this stuff because all I'm going to do is think about it. I can't really articulate in the way that I feel, but it's just like, I'll tell you exactly how I feel. I feel like that horse on that beach in that one meme. Like, yeah, I am that horse right now, just thinking about stuff. So, you know, that's really all I can say. And I'm going to move on because this not a super great topic because I mean I can't even put how I feel into words. But yeah, man, that's just how I feel. It's just like, man, I'm a horse on a beach thinking about things. Anyways, back to Eidola. I mean I heard the new single. Honestly, I thought it was fine. I don't know. It needs some time to like grow on me, I think. However, I think whatever their first single from their last album was, I feel like I like that one instantly, which doesn't mean that this new one is like not good or anything. Because a lot of things that I like a lot took a while to grow on me, like Heavener by Invent Animate. I didn't even really listen to that like when it came out. Mainly because I wasn't really that impressed with the singles. I feel like, as it is for most albums, for me anyways, the B-sides are usually better than the singles. Unless it's that one The Amity Affliction album, but I'm not going to get into it because we're not going to talk about her. But Um, I feel like, yeah, I just wasn't impressed with the singles for Heavener. But then I saw it live and I was like, oh, this is kind of giving. And so I actually listened to the album and I was like, oh, this is actually good. And some of the singles from it did actually grow on me, and so now I like it, and I like the deluxe tracks. However, I don't even know, is there a deluxe edition coming out, or did they just release like 2 new tracks? I would love the answer to that. So yeah. So this new Eidola track, it'll probably just take a little while to grow on me. Speaking of things that took a while to grow on me, since I am seeing Erra pretty soon, I actually was like, okay, maybe I should like put some thought into it and actually listen to the new singles. And Pale Iris is the first one that came out, and I like listened to that once and then didn't listen to it again for like what, a couple months, because it came out a while ago. But then when Cure came out, the track, not the album, it's not out yet. I listened to that, and you know how when they release singles, they'll like release them and like the previous single right along with it, so they'll play. I did like Cure, but then I actually got the chance to like listen to Pale Iris again, and I was like, oh, this kind of eats. I kind of like it. And it's like, yeah, it's another one of those things that just took a while to grow on me. Honestly, to be completely honest, Self-Titled had to grow on me too. I feel like when that album first came out, which, did it come out in 2020? I feel like that came out like right after I graduated. Or no, it came out right before I graduated or something. No, it was after. Either way, whenever it came out, I was like, I remember really specifically where I was when I listened to it for the first time, and it was in my purple bedroom at home, which, I mean, that's not super specific or, doesn't stand out because, I mean, back in COVID times, the only place I was in my purple bedroom. But either way, it's weird because I remember, like, my exact positioning that I was in my bedroom when I first listened to it. That entire statement made no sense. Pretend I didn't even say that. Anyways, the entire point of that was to say that Erra Self-Titled took a while to grow on me as well. Like, I listened to that once. It was like, whatever. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. Maybe controversial, which I don't know if it's controversial, because I mean, it's not like I don't like it now, but when I heard Snowblood for the first time, which is the opening track for that album, and I heard like all the electronic bits, and I was like, ugh, another band going radio friendly, because it felt pedestrian to me. I'm not gonna lie, it did feel pedestrian to me. It does hit the spot for me now, but when I listened to it for the first time, it felt pedestrian. What can I say? But yeah, that album took a while to grow on me. And I don't know, I guess Erra's music is just music that's gonna take a while to grow on me. I don't know what to say, you know? Yeah. I am looking forward to the album. I'm looking forward to seeing them in our home state of Alabama, which, I mean, speaking of Alabama, the Alabamians are not all right. They just aren't. They just aren't. They are collectively going through it. I don't know what to say about it. I mean, I don't want to get into it, but we're supposed to be having a hee hee ha ha time on the pod, except for that one episode. But I don't want to bring the vibes down, but just know I do feel very strongly about it. I don't like it at all. And we're just going to leave it at that. Either way. Erra's music just takes a while to grow on me. That's really it. That's really all there is to say. Where am I? I have my little list, and I feel like I just went through like, okay, I didn't. Okay, so recently I've been sitting out some local shows, not for any real reason other than I've just been like tired and sleepy, and it's like, when it comes to be like 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock on a weekend, I'm just like, I'm so cozy. I think I will just go to bed. I think I'll just go to bed instead of go out and hear great local music, which, I mean, it is what it is. I'm just tired sometimes. It's really all it boils down to. But this past Friday, was it this Friday? Yes, this past Friday, I was like, okay, there's a band that I really like coming back to Jackson when we sing them for my second time. I'm going to make an effort to go out, which, by the way, every time I go to a show here locally, I always have a good time. So it's not even a question of, ooh, I don't know if I'm going to enjoy myself. It's just a question of, ooh, I'm tired. I want to go to bed at not midnight. It's just one of those things. I'm just old. What can I say? I'm just old. I'm about to hit a quarter of a century, and it's really weighing down on me. apparently. I'm just in my old woman bag. I like to go to bed at 8. What else can I say? That's really it. Anyways, um this past Friday, I decided, no, I will go to bed at a wacky time, and I'm going to go see this band that I really like. And the band that I'm talking about is called Death Throes from a Star, and they are from Vicksburg. I probably have talked about them before. I can't even remember, to be completely honest. But they're called Death Throes. They're called Death Throes from a Star, and they are from Vicksburg. And it is a, how can I describe them? It's more of like a ambient post metal question mark. I don't know, because on their Spotify page, which they only have one track out, it's like 12 minutes long, but it's a good track. They only have one track out as of right now, and it's like 12 minutes long. It is called, give me a second, I feel like I was just on the page for this. Why can't I find this all of a sudden? It's called Celestial Poisons. And no, not Death Grips. Death Throes from a Star. Thank you. Yeah, they have the one song out, and I am probably most of the less than 1,000 plays that it has on that particular song. I do wish they would put out new music, but listen, I get that studio time and stuff like that costs money, which is why I'm not like, ooh, I really wish some of my favorite local bands would put out music. I know that stuff costs money, and like, would I like to be a patron of the arts and pay for some of these bands' studio time so that I can listen to their music outside of going to see them live? Sure, but I'm also broke. Well, I'm not broke, but you know, I get paid normal people money, so it's like I don't have the funds to do that. It's late. That's my excuse. It's late. It's almost 8 o'clock, and it's Sunday. That's my only excuse. Anyways, now if I was like rich and like had a lot of money to just be throwing around, would I pay for local band studio time? Of course I would. I would want to be anonymous though. I don't want people hitting me up out of nowhere being like, hey, can you pay for my studio time? No, I'm going to bestow my wealth on you if I think you're worth it. So I don't even know if that would like work out. It's like, how do you even do that, like, anonymously? Like, hey, what if, wouldn't it be so funny if, like, you know, I am the rich person, right? But I pretend to be the rich person's, like, accountant, question mark? Or, I don't know, money manager? Their envoy, their emissary, their amanuensis, their, I don't know, assistant, something like that. And I'm like, hey, my millionaire boss really likes your music, and they want to pay for your studio time, actually, so that wouldn't work out at all. Like, what a silly idea. Anyway, if I had it like that, I would absolutely become a patron of the arts. However, I don't have it like that. One day I might. All I have right now is the ability to yap about them on the internet, and I'm gonna do that. So that is my bestowing of wealth upon bands that I like, is yapping about them on the internet. Anyways, back to Death Throes from a Star. I really like their music. They have, again, one song called Celestial Poisons. I encourage you to listen to them. I don't know if they have more music like elsewhere, because I mean, listen, I am part of the problem. I only use Spotify when I probably should be using like Bandcamp or something like that, but it's just easy and I'm lazy. So like, you know, and I also, well, I don't still get a discount, but it's like it's $10 dues for all of the music I could ever want to listen to. Is the revenue share absolutely garbage? Yes. That is why I try to support bands in other ways, like buying merch and seeing them in person and just yapping about them on the internet. So I do what I can. Okay? I'm about to look up Death Throes from a Star to see if they have any other music posted elsewhere. I don't think they do. Yeah, they have a Bandcamp, which has but one song. Yep. Oh, I can actually, okay, so they have the breakdown? What do you call it? Genre breakdown on their Bandcamp. Let's see. It says post shoegaze, ethereal, instrumental, volume dealers. I don't know what that means, But I also didn't know what a shoegaze meant until like a while ago. For some reason, I thought that was like a rap genre, like, kind of like more like navel gazy, like really, I don't know, just self referential and self woe is me, like indie rap or something like that. It's not. It's definitely not that. Apparently, and I looked this up after a while, but apparently, shoegaze is called that because the guitarists in these type of bands have so many guitar pedals and they're interchanging them so often that they're gazing at their shoes all the time. It's actually a very simple explanation for that. I don't know why I went with my initial explanation for the genre, but that's what shoegaze is. And let me tell you, of course, I mean, I've seen Death Throes before, at least twice. Twice. Why am I saying at least twice? I've seen them exactly twice. Anyways, their pedal setup is honestly kind of insane. They have like, I don't know if it would be considered giant because I don't know what a giant pedal board would look like, but they have like, I would say probably like a full size pedal board and it's like full of pedals. Like full of pedals. It's crazy, honestly. But I really like them. It's not, would I call these uncles? I don't know. Yes, I would. I would call them uncles. So it's not exactly Uncle Punk. And I don't know if I really like the term shoegaze, because that doesn't mean anything in my brain to me. So I don't know. It's Uncle Instrumental. Oh, here we go. Doom gaze, post rock instrumental, post shoegaze, and I'm way up on my mic right now. I am so sorry. Shoegaze and Vicksburg, because they're from Vicksburg. Let's see. It's 3 people. It's, again, all instrumental. Love me a good instrumental band. As you guys know, I am a stan of animals as leaders. They can do no wrong in my eyes. That's not true. They actually can do wrong in my eyes, and I've talked about it, so never mind. But speaking of animals as leaders, not to be like, ooh, drop some new music, but I sure would like to know when they're going to drop some new music. And, like, they strike me as a band that just does things on their own pace, which means after a long time. So, I'm not rushing nobody. However, I would like to know what they have after Parisia. Like, what more do they have to offer? I'm sure they have something to offer. I would love to hear some new material. I would have loved it if Parisia was longer, but again, I've already talked about that. I'm not going to spend more time talking about it. Well, maybe you don't know how I feel. I think the album is too short, and I find it bizarre that they released 4 singles for a 9-track album. It just feels weird to me. Like, that's almost half the album. Anyways, I would love to see some new Animals as Leaders material. That's really it. I like the stuff from Parisia, and I would like to see the progression of that sound, but, that's not up to me. It's not up to me. If I wanted to, I could learn 7 or 8 string guitar and just, like, make it myself, but alas, my hands, they're so small. They're so small and so tiny and so baby. I can't do it. However, now that I think about it, and for some reason I have been thinking about it, instead of just, learning how to play a 7 or 8 string guitar to get those lower tones, I could get a 6 string guitar, get the strings from the 8 string, put the lowest 6 on the 6 string, and just tune it down. And that would work. But or I could just play the bass. Literally, I could just play the bass if I want low tones, but not too low, like the bass. But I don't know, man. I'm not learning how to play an instrument. That's out of the question. I mean, hey, you know what they say. It's never too late. But it's probably not going to happen for me. Again, unless I become super rich and also become a patron of the arts. I might. If I was, really rich, I had it like that, I would probably spend a lot of my time on my creative pursuits. However, as someone who, doesn't have it like that and does spend a not insignificant amount of time on creative pursuits, I don't think I'd be able to stick with anything. Having more money would not mean I would be able to stick with anything. However, if I had more money, I could pay for a private instructor that would hold me accountable instead of just myself holding myself accountable. So I don't know, it might work out. But again, all this is hypothetical because, listen, I'm keeping it open for the future, but realistically, I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna be like bajillion bamillionaire when I am older. I would like to be, I don't know if I would want to be the rich person in the family, because if people know that I'm the rich person in the family, then they're gonna start asking me for money, and it's like it's not the vibe that I'm going for. So I'm just trying to have enough to have a decent sized house that is mine, and enough money to fund my hobbies, and also to live with. You can't forget that, in a decent area. So that's the financial stability that I'm trying to go for. And also I am so young but so old at my big age of 24, so I have a little bit of time. I have some time to work on that. But for now, I'm just going to yap. Anyways, there are more topics on this list. So, staying in the theme of music, I have been listening to the album Stillworld by Invent Animate quite a bit. And I've given it a couple listens here and there, on and off, throughout the years, just to see what it was about. And I'm not gonna lie, I do like Stillworld like a lot. And I don't know. I feel like the worm thought is creeping up in my mind, but I have a confession to make. I might like Stillworld more than Everchanger. Like, it's a possibility. I might like it more than Everchanger. I don't know though. I've listened to Everchanger back to front, front to back very several times for over several years. So like I've had a lot of time to marinate on Everchanger. Stillworld for the most part, I mean I haven't really been listening to it all that much. Aside from what I've been listening to in like the past, I don't know, month and a half. So it hasn't had the staying power with me as much as Everchanger has, but I do find the album highly enjoyable. And it got me to thinking, Stillworld was the last album before they went, I don't even know if it was a hiatus. Well, let's see. It came out in 2016, and their next album after that came out 2021, 22, something like that. Yeah, I'm going back to Spotify. I need to know the answer. Yeah, this came out in 2016, and Graveview, I want to say came out in 21. It came out in 2020. So that's about 4 years wait. And of course, lineup changes. Ben left, Marcus joined. They went through a bit of a sound shift in between those two albums. But of course, part of me wonders, like, I think, okay, let me just say this. Comparing Stillworld and Everchanger, it really feels like Everchanger is the establishment of this very significant, or not significant, very, honestly, I'm not even gonna say unique, because I probably talked about this a little bit before, but I think a lot of the criticism that Everchanger got was that it was kind of biting on the North Lane sound a little bit. So I mean, it's not unique, but I feel like it's unique to Invent Animate. I'll say it that much. They kind of had that sound, right? And I feel like that sound was progressed upon in Stillworld. They took some, I don't know, not really sound concepts, because it's not like a mastodon to a mastodon under Vatten with Viljarta. It's different, so it's not exactly the vibe that I'm going for. I'm trying to find the words to describe this, but it sounds like a pretty linear musical progression. You have Everchanger and you have Stillworld, which sounds like a really polished Everchanger. That's what I want to say. They really polished and refined their sound in between those two albums. And then of course from Stillworld to Greyview, there was a lot of time and a lineup change and like a general sound change. But part of me wonders, like, what would have been the next progression from Stillworld to a hypothetical next album that wasn't Everchanger or wasn't Greyview, right? Where they still have that same lineup and still have that same general sound. Like, what would that sound like, And what would it be like thematically? Because I feel like, for the most part, if you look at the cover art for all of Invent Animate's albums, I'm setting aside their like first EP for a second here, because first of all, not a lot of people have listened to it, including me. Well, I have listened to it, I just haven't listened to it like a lot, but we're gonna set her aside, because that's, yeah. But thinking about, the overall aesthetic of Everchanger, you have the cover, which, I don't know why I'm pointing to it, you can't see it, it's on this wall over here, but look it up. look up the cover for Everchanger by Invent Animate, and you can see it's like this dark, mysterious forest. And that's really, sound-wise, what the album sounds like. It sounds dark and mysterious and kind of, it just sounds like that. And then you go to Stillworld, the cover is like the snowy forest, and the album has a lot of kind of sparkly, it sounds sparkly, but it doesn't at the same time. But a lot of kind of, imagine yourself walking through like a snowy forest and hearing the crunching beneath your feet and the weird, like, still world of a snow-covered forest. Because, snow soaks up a lot of sound. It absorbs. I don't know why I said soaks up. Snow, like, absorbs sound. It's basically like you're walking on soundproofing foam in a big forest covered in soundproofing foam. If you don't live in a place where snow is prevalent, which I don't, but having been outside after it snowed, even here, it's like weirdly quiet. It's strangely quiet. And I don't know, it kind of, the vibes match. And so, like, if we were continuing on that, which, the newer albums still kind of match that. Like, Graveview really does sound like you're, like, floating in the sky among the clouds. Like, if you've ever been in an airplane, which I feel like more people than I think have been on airplanes, but maybe also less people than I think. But, you're in an airplane and you're, like, ascending and you're going through the clouds, which is honestly so cool. I love that about airplanes. Going through clouds? Whoa. Anyways, you're going through the clouds and you're like up in the air and you're like kind of weightless. That's what the music of Graveview kind of feels like. And then not Everchanger. What? Heavener. That one's a little bit harder to describe because I don't know, the cover art is less straightforward, I guess, but you're kind of in this weird ethereal plane of existence, and it does kind of sound like that a little bit, especially when you get to the songs like Void Surfacing and Emberglow. That's when that aesthetic really comes through. But if the lineup stayed the same, and the Sun Sleeps, we can't forget about that. That one, I have less to say about that because it's less songs, and also I haven't listened to it as much as I have these other projects. But anyways, we're gonna move on. What would be like the next one from Stillworld? Because we went from a dark forest to a snowy forest. Forest fire. A forest on fire. Like a really, really heavy, really visceral, really just like something with a lot of oomph and emotion and punch. Like to go from the forest at night to the forest covered in snow to the forest on fire. That would have been everything. That would have been everything. But of course, we'll never know how that's going to happen because Ben left, and I'm pretty sure he was kind of a big part of that kind of I don't know what I'm saying. I'm yapping, guys. I'm yapping. I hate to say it, but I am yapping on this evening. But I had a point there for a second, then I lost it. Anyways, I really would have liked to see what a third album with Ben would have sounded like, but we'll never know. However, Ben English, I'm not about to look him up, but I'm still keeping it up here in my noggin. He said he was on his way back to what? Making music in general? Cool. To Invent Animate? Maybe. I don't know. There's been no updates. As far as I know. To be fair, I haven't looked, but as far as I know, there haven't been any updates. It's only February. And I'm still holding out hope for that Everchanger 10th anniversary tour. I will never stop talking about that. Honestly, I probably won't even stop talking about it in 2025. So I'm still holding out hope. I'm staying fast to what I want. And I'm just gonna keep it in my heart. And if I keep it in my heart, maybe it will actually exist at some point, but probably not also at the same time. Anywho, let's see. Let us see. What did I just touch? Oh, thing on the mic stand. Okay, well, those conclude all of my musical topics. I talked about music for a while, but I have some non-musical topics to talk about as well. So, this let's see, was that last Sunday? Maybe the Sunday before that. Some Sundays ago, at least one Sunday ago, from this Sunday, which is today, I saw that they had re-released Dune from the 80s, the David Lynch Dune. They had re-released that in theaters for, it's a little Fathom event. Speaking of Fathom events, I haven't actually seen this advertised on their site, but I do know that Coraline is being re-released in 3D, like in remastered 3D. And I have seen Coraline, first of all, several times on like premium channels and then later on streaming. And I have seen it once in theaters, but something that I had actually never known until I actually went and saw it in theaters and they had like that special feature was that it was actually a 3D movie, which it does make sense, but I've never seen it in 3D. Oh my gosh, so rude. I've never seen it in 3D, and it's supposed to be being re-released in 3D in I think around August, and I will be seated if they bring it here. If they bring it here, I will be seated. I hope they do bring it here because I want to be seated. Like, Coraline is a movie that I've seen probably close to 10 times, probably more than Amadeus, which is like my alleged favorite movie, even though I haven't seen it very many times, which I think it's time for a rewatch. I haven't seen Amadeus in a while. However, it's also like close to 3 hours, so, I need to carve out some time for that because it's a long movie. What can I say? But yeah, they had re-released the David Lynch Dune, and since the new one is coming out, and since the David Lynch Dune is notoriously wacky, I decided I should see it. I have frequently lost film school kid points because people ask me, oh, have you seen this movie? And I tell them no, because I haven't seen a lot of movies. I haven't seen a lot of classic movies, I've seen some kind of obscure, maybe not even obscure is the right word, but some kind of, I don't know, I would call them like throwaway movies that probably weren't intended to have a lasting impact on the populace, but I went and saw them anyways, probably because an actor I thought was hot was in them and they ended up being good. Case in point, Pump Up the Volume with Christian Slater. Strangely a weird movie. Nothing happens, all they do is talk, but like, I kind of vibe with it. Anyways, I saw the David Lynch Dune in theaters, and it also had some special features, because it was its 40th anniversary re-release. And they must have been from the 90s because, it was in 4:3 aspect ratio. And, it just had that, like, 90s feel to it. If you watch stuff from the 90s, like, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it kind of talked about how the special effects for the movie were done and how it employed the use of miniatures, which is really cool. David Lynch does not make an appearance in the special features, which I think is so funny, because apparently this Dune is the only movie in David Lynch's entire filmography that he's like actively ashamed of, which is kind of a shame because like the movie as a movie is not good. I'm gonna say that from the jump. The movie is not good. It's like, yes, it's well made, but like as a piece of media, it's not great. So like I understand why David Lynch has like distanced himself from it because it's rough. It's really rough. And I don't know the full story with it. That might explain some of its roughness because it's not like they went into that in the special features. They just kind of talked about how it was really mostly about the special effects. So it's like it's weird. I don't know what to say about it. Basically, if you like filmmaking for the subtext and the subtlety, this movie has the opposite of that. Nothing is subtle. They will tell you everything. Everything is upfront. Like, there's no subtext. Everything that is there is there. You will not have enough time to think about anything because we're going from one plot point to one plot point, from one action scene to another action scene. It's a lot. Like, the first act of the movie is kind of slow, but then, I'm pretty sure this covers, like, the entirety of the first Dune book. So, like, you have, whereas the Villeneuve, am I saying that right? Danny Villeneuve? Sure. The Villeneuve film is, like, really just the inciting incident of the book where, they make it to Arrakis, they're attacked, they're in the desert, and they meet the Fremen, and that's where the movie ends, and that's where the next movie is going to pick back up. And like the I don't know, man. It's so the best way that I can describe it, I think, and this is going to be a compliment, is that the David Lynch Dune feels like one of the weirdest dreams I've ever had. Like, not one of my weird dreams in particular. It just feels like a really weird dream that I would have that would stick with me for a while, for me to like remember it after like years. Because I do have some dreams that have been really wacky that I have remembered for like years, that have stuck with me because of how just wacky they were. And this movie feels like one of those dreams. And I mean that in a good way, because those wacky dreams that I have are honestly, I don't know, they're like these grand adventures that I have, right? In my dreams, weirdly. But it really feels like that. It feels dreamlike and just, I don't know, just weird. Weird is the only way that I can describe it. Genuinely weird is the only way that I can describe it. Like, the characters are all flat. The dialogue and the acting is so wooden. Like, Patrick Stewart's in it, and he's probably the best actor out of everyone else in this film. Because, I mean, it's Patrick Stewart. But, like, even his performance is kind of leaves a little bit to be desired. He plays Gurney Halleck, who's played by... That's not Ethan Hawke. I don't know who plays Gurney I know who plays Gurney in the new movie. I just don't know the actor's name. I'm gonna have to look it up. Phooey. Is that Ethan Hawke? Maybe it is Ethan Hawke. Let me see if it's Ethan Hawke. I hate it when I look up things on the podcast, and I am trying to stop, but I do want to know. It's Josh Brolin. It is not Ethan Hawke. Yeah. Josh Brolin's character in the new Dune, that's who Patrick Stewart plays. It's like, he's fine, but the actor who plays Paul is like he's just there. I hate to say it, he's just there. I'm so sorry, he's just there. He's just there. Hate that for him, but he really truly is just there. Don't even get me started on Shawnee's character. Like, you could take her out of that movie and nothing would change. Like, I feel like Shawnee is supposed to play like a way bigger part. And listen, I haven't read the books. First of all, they're too long, so I'm not even about to attempt to do that. But, I get the impression that Shawnee is supposed to be like a way more important character, and she's just kind of generic love interest. Like, she has no personality really at all. And it's like, listen, it's a sci-fi movie from the 80s, sci-fi fantasy movie from the 80s. So like, already it's gonna be a little weird. So all that in mind, I still found it enjoyable. I still ended up really liking it. And honestly, I kind of want to see it again. Like, I wrote in my Letterboxd review, I don't think this one is worthy of like a second watch, but thinking about it, I kind of want to see it again. It kind of eats. I don't know. It's like weird and camp and fun. Like, if you don't take it too seriously as a movie, you're going to have a great time. However, if you have never seen any other Dune adaptation or know anything about the story of Dune, you're going to be confused because they explain nothing. Like, of course, there's like the whole sections with Princess Irulan like narrating the story, but even that doesn't give you that only gives you like background information. Everything else that's going on, you have to like, yeah, you really need some like prior knowledge to understand anything in that movie. So once they got to the part where the Villeneuve movie ends, because I mean that's the only amount of the story that I'm aware of. After that, it gets a little wacky. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's probably a great book. And also, did Dune come out? I know I said before that Dune came out in the 60s, the book, but I don't think it did. I really don't think it did. I'm gonna look it did come out in the 60s. It came out in 65. Anyways, it's probably a great book with a lot of like political intrigue and philosophy about stuff, but that does not show at all in the David Lynch version. And if I were to compare and contrast the two versions, I mean, listen, I haven't seen part 2 yet. I will see it. I do have my ticket. Next Sunday, I will be seeing it, and hopefully it'll be good, but I don't know. I feel like there's a lot more, maybe not room for interpretation, there's a lot more room for anything, because there's just no room for anything in the David Lynch version. Like, you don't have time to think about things, you don't have time to try to interpret it, because they go from one thing to another like so quickly. Like, you have no time, you're on all the time. But I feel like with the Villeneuve version, there's like, and I have seen that one recently again too. I talk about in the last was that the last episode, episode before last, a previous episode of the pod. And it's like, yeah, maybe there were a little bit too many of the dream flashbacks. Now that I think about it, just kind of thinking about it like a little bit, but at the same time, not really. Because again, in the source material, I don't know how much the dreams are like centralized on. So if they are a lot more centralized on in the source material, then sure, fine, whatever. I feel like the dreams were hardly touched on in the David Lynch version. Like, there was maybe 1 or 2 scenes about the dreams, and that's kind of it. And that sure is it. That, yeah, there's really not a whole lot to it. My brain just blanked out there. That was weird. There's a lot more subtlety in the Villeneuve version. I mean, the acting is better. I'm not going to say that all old movies have bad acting, because that's not true. It is not true. That is a falsehood. People have been acting their butts off for time, okay, not time immemorial, but since the dawn of film, there have been good actors. It's just that the good actors weren't in the David Lynch Dune movie, unfortunately. They were all working on other things. They were all booked, I guess. Or they just didn't want to be in a wacky sci-fi fantasy movie, which, fair. If you're like a big time actor and, you don't want to genre switch like that, then that is fair. I can get it, but I don't know. There's just, the subtlety isn't there. There's no subtext. The acting is wooden, just like a 2x4 probably has better screen presence than some of those actors and better line delivery than some of those actors. Like, but I feel like the David Lynch Dune is like, I did say it was bad, but it's like good bad, It's like actually enjoyable. I really enjoyed it. And I want to make that very clear. I really did enjoy the David Lynch Dune, but I don't know. It's not great. It really isn't great. It's enjoyable, but it's not great. And I'm gonna just leave it at that, because I don't really know what else to say about it. It's wacky. It's wacky. That's the only thing I can say. It's wacky. Speaking of which, I'm pretty sure, let me see. Amadeus came out in 1984. When did it come out? Hold on. I feel like Amadeus is due for a re-release. It came out in 1984. It's 2024. That's crazy. That Dune movie came out the same year as Amadeus. Which, listen, I get that's like a big jump, because it did win Best Picture that year, but, it's just like the duality of film. You can have something like Amadeus, or you can have something like David Lynch Dune. What a big spectrum of films, to have that Dune movie and Amadeus on each sides of it. It's like, wow. Anyways, I wonder if it's getting re-released. And I'm trying to see what day. I don't know if the day matters for when it came out, but September 6th. Well, okay, September 9th was its wide release. Wow. I wonder if I hope that if I could see Amadeus in theaters, that would honestly be such a slay. Oh my god. Wait, hold on. Because I still consider Amadeus to be like my favorite movie, right? Even though I feel like it's just because I haven't seen it in a while. It's like, it's not in the forefront of my mind right now. but seeing my favorite movie in theaters, honestly, Fathom Events, like, get on it. Respectfully get on it, please. Or whomever is in charge of it's usually Fathom Events though that goes and does these, you know. I hope Amadeus is getting re-released. I don't want to look it up right now because I feel like this is gonna take a while, but I hope it is. And if it is, I will be seated. I will be seated. Middle of the week, doesn't matter. I will be seated in the theaters for that. Anywho, how it is finally time for me to talk about Drag Race. And like, I always forget to talk about Drag Race, but I actually wrote it down. Actually, let me make sure I've covered everything else. Yep. Drag Race. We're finally talking about it. And I actually have some opinions. First and foremostly, listen, I don't know if I'm going to get any hate for this. And, you know, I obviously don't intend this to be like derogatory or whatever. But the fact that Maya Iman LePage has lasted as long as she has, I don't know. I don't know why the producers are keeping her on. I really don't. Man. If she's not out by next episode, the riggery will be real, because I don't know. I thought Maya had overstayed her welcome for like the Cher episode, you know? Like the fact that she wasn't sent home that episode, insane in the membrane. Like, I don't know why she's still being kept around. Like, she's just doesn't stick out to me, you know? And she has been doing like not great in in some of the challenges. And the fact that she didn't get sent home on that design challenge is crazy. Like, that was rigorous. It was rigorous, because I don't know what kind of dirt my Iman LePage has on RuPaul Andre Charles, but it must be working out for her, because I don't really think she should have stuck around. I would have liked to see Megami stay more than Maya. Like, I hate to say it, but I don't know, because doing all of that to the song Flowers by Miley Cyrus, like, Flowers is not... First of all, I thought she was cooked when she kicked those shoes off. Like, when she kicked those shoes off, I was like, pack it up, Maya, you are going home. Because that's usually indicative of, like, a not great lip sync. Because, like, when the queens start to take off, like, everything, just start ripping garments off. Like, it was giving Shangela in that one episode where she's, like, wearing the paper lantern and it starts falling apart. That's what it was giving. But apparently it was fine. Like, you would think... I feel like at one point in time, kicking your shoes off during a lip sync was like an automatic, you're going home, go to the house, right? But for whatever reason, it worked for her, which is why I really think this is rigged. Like, I don't know. If you are a Maya Iman LePage stan, and I'm not talking about, you know, for her time outside of Drag Race, maybe she's great, but if you are, you know, based purely off of her performance on the show, if you are a Maya Iman LePage stan, I really want to know why. Call in. We're standing by. I'd love to know. Please justify this to me, because I don't get it, you know? And again, I don't want to go too hard on her, because, like, she's trying just like the rest of them, but I just don't see it. I don't see it for her. I don't. I really don't. And if she doesn't go home this next episode, like, I know something is wrong. But anyways... whatever, I've gotten that off my chest, thankfully. About the others, let's see. This last episode's lip sync, though, oh man, that one, you know, that one was hard. It was like, yeah, it's really, I didn't really want to see Tsunami go, because I really like what she has to offer, but at the same time, I wouldn't have wanted Morphine to go, because I really like what she has to offer. So it's like, yeah. I feel like the last couple of lip syncs previous to this one, you're like, okay, it's time for these people to leave. But this last one that we had, that was like, yeah, that was a tough one, a tough decision. So, I mean, great television, but tough, you know? So, if I had to, I feel like everyone who's there now, if I had to look at all of the queens, aside from Maya, because again, I need her to be gone. I feel like now it really is anyone's game. I feel like anyone could win. And honestly, I like that feeling because last season it was very clearly Sasha Colby's drag race. So it's like, you were basically just watching one queen's ascent to the crown. It really was not anyone's game. Like, and I'm pretty sure they all knew it too. Like, they definitely knew, like, oh, I'm on a season with Sasha Colby. Well, I guess I better have some fun, you know? But now, if it really feels like anyone's game. And I mean, I guess we might be, is it halfway through? Question mark. I don't know if it's halfway through or not. Maybe. But now that we are at this point in the season, I think I can say that I'm rooting for Nymphia Wind. Like, I love everything that she has done so far. Even, yes, that includes Jane Goodall. I put this on Twitter. I said, Nymphia Wind can do no wrong in my eyes. And one person said, but the Jane Goodall. I thought it was funny. I thought it was perfectly Nymphia Wind. I thought that's her. That's her. Like, if she's gonna do one thing, it's stick to her brand. It's stick to her guns. And I'm honestly surprised that none of the judges have said anything about it. Because I feel like previously we've had queens who have had very, they have a shtick and they've stuck to it. And it's usually Michelle Visage that goes, you need to branch out. But surprisingly, Michelle has not said that. I would have thought she would by now, but I guess if she brings out a banana look this next episode, Michelle might crack. She might. She might say, it's time to break the shtick. Which I disagree. I like it. What can I say? I'm biased, whatever. But yeah, that's who I'm currently rooting for right now. I'm trying to think of anyone else. I don't know. I don't want to say I'm praying for Plain Jane's downfall. Honestly, I want her to stick around because she is our obvious villain of the season. I like having her to have someone to root against. We need an antagonist, and it's like I also kind of wanted a mandatory meeting to stick around because I really wanted her to stick it to Plain Jane, and eventually she did. But I feel like PJ was not put in her place enough times, And so it's like, I wish she had a couple more episodes to be clapped back at by Amanda, but we only got one, unfortunately. So, but the one, it was delicious. So, but now I feel like, I don't know, it feels like her mean girl persona is starting to not fade or slip, but it feels incredibly transparent. Like, we know she's doing this on purpose. Like, I don't know. She's probably not even a mean person in real life. I think she's just putting on because television calls for it, which, like, great. She's fitting into the role perfectly. But something, I don't know, the meanness of Plain Jane, or I don't know, let me not say meanness, the villain arc of Plain Jane and the villain arc of Gia Gunn, or I don't know, Gia Gunn is the only one I can compare her to because Gia Gunn was also unapologetically just like right out the gate, just like messy, But it feels different. I feel like Gia Gunn really is that person, but Plain Jane is putting on, if that makes sense. And I'm pretty sure other people think the same way too. So it's like, I mean, yeah, she's a villain. Is she a good villain? I don't know. I could do with a little bit more earnestness, but at the same time, you can't be a villain on TV anymore because Unhinged Drag Race stands on Twitter.com will send you death threats and get your Twitter taken down. Which I feel like a lot of people, well, I don't know if a lot of people say it, but I feel like Mistress Isabel Brooks was kind of put into that villain category as well, but she's also like genuinely sisterly. So it kind of doesn't work for villain for her. She's just like really messy. She's just kind of messy, and that's like it, which is not exactly like villain behavior, But I don't know. I feel like we haven't gotten a good villain in a while, and I'm still not convinced that Plain Jane is that good of a villain, to be completely honest. But yeah, let's think about some others. I don't know. Plasma, I feel like don't know. She's just kind of there in my mind. Which is that fair to say? I don't know. Like she's obviously been kind of standing out where she's like, "Oh, I'm elbowing my way through. I'm weaponizing." She's really weaponizing that BFA, but she's really trying to like transparently like elbow her way to the front, to the forefront, especially with the Rusical, last Rusical, which she did good in, but it's like, I don't know. It really feels weird to say, but if you're just like good at something, especially on Drag Race, you're like not interesting to me. Which is funny that I say that because Nymphia is also someone who has proven to be like good at everything that she's done. And yes, I am including the Snatch game in there because I feel like she did exactly what she set out to do, which was be kind of weird. So like mission accomplished. But to me, she just like sticks out a little bit more than someone who's just like really polished. I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. It almost felt like that way for, oh my gosh, what's her name? She won the season before last, and I can't think of her name. That's embarrassing. What did I say? If you can count on me for one thing, you can count on me to forget what episode it is, and also forget the names of things. That includes people. So the winner of 2 seasons ago, I also felt like she was just like really good at everything, and it was like, okay, this is whatever, I guess. Simone felt different for me though, because I feel like she wasn't like good at everything. I felt like there was some room for like floppage and like improvement there, but I feel like her win was like well earned, you know? I don't know. I'm just trying to think back to some others. But yeah, that's kind of disjointed, but those are my thoughts on this current season of Drag Race. I do like it a lot. Do I like it more than last season? Maybe? Question mark? I don't know. First of all, I feel like there were entirely too many queens last season. Like, they really need to put a cap on it, which, again, I know the way it works. However many episodes are ordered for a season probably is going to influence, one, the amount of queens that are cast, and two, the gimmick that's used, and, you know, whether or not they bring back queens and stuff like that. Which, speaking of gimmicks, this season's gimmick, I think, is fine. I actually like it because it hasn't really had that much impact on the season as a whole. The chocolate bar, honestly, the worst. I hate it. I mean, listen, its chocolate is iconic, but that gimmick was honestly so lame. Like, hated it so much. Just not a great gimmick, if I'm being honest. And then did the last season even have a gimmick? I don't think so. I can't remember one. And also, hold on. I honestly thought that the Raider Queen thing would persist a little bit more. It was really only in like those first 2 episodes. And I thought, oh, throughout the season, the queens are going to raid each other and that's going to have like an impact on things. But like, no, that didn't last very long at all. So that wasted, maybe it'll come back later in the season. Maybe it'll come back like towards the later episodes when we're down to a top 5, top 4 type situation, which having a top 4 go to the finale, too much. Cap it at 3. Well, actually, you know what? I can tolerate a top 4. A top 5, on the other hand, that's crazy. Like, seriously, cap it at 3. Still, my point still stands. Cap it at 3. 4 can be tolerated. 5 cannot be. But 3, I think, is the goal for a top cohort, you know, going into the finale. Top 5, really? That's, it's too many. Like, why would you do that? Anyways, yeah, I mean, I like the season. I like where it's going. I think the gimmick is fine because it's not really that much of an impact. I like the queens. I do like them. And yeah, that's really all I have to say about Drag Race. I finally talked about it. I finally didn't forget. Will I continue to forget? Probably. But this time, I talked about it when I said I would because I wrote it down on my list of topics. And yeah, that's going to be it for, well, hold on. I mean, I know that was the last one, but yeah, that's really it. That's going to be it for this 21st episode of the Running My Mouth podcast. Thank you so much for allowing me to run my mouth. Finally, we have an episode that is a normal length. Follow me on Twitter, because if you're not following me on Twitter, you're only getting half the story. Which I have also been watching Untucked, but honestly, Untucked has, I don't know, I liked Untucked a lot better when they weren't obviously prompting the queens to ask each other things. Like, I liked it when it really was just like the behind the scenes, not really behind the scenes, but kind of a behind the scenes type of show. Like, well, let me see, season 7, 8, 9, 10. I liked those seasons of Untucked, but everything after that was kind of, I don't know, it's kind of chopped. It just feels very obviously produced. That's the thing. I don't want a produced Untucked. I want a completely unproduced Untucked. You know, just let them do things organically instead of prompting them to ask questions. It's wacky. Anyways, follow me on Twitter, because if you're not following me on Twitter, you're only getting half the story. And if you're not watching the video version of the podcast, you're also only getting half the story. And yeah, that's going to be it for me. And I'm going to go now. I'm going to go to bed because it's after 8 o'clock and it's time for me to go to beddy bye. Ooh, let me not actually do all that. That's too much.